First talk to our times. Fracturing the prism. That Brumiare thing again. It's very weird how history is repeating itself, and now it is beyond farce. Back in the 19th century, the industrialism was linked to two elements. One look forward-looking and one backward-looking. On the one hand, and I'm talking about in Europe, let's be very clear, I'm not talking about America, and you could argue till the cows come home whether I'm talking about Britain, but I am. There was always an alliance between old aristocracy, old money, and the bourgeoisie. Certainly that was explicitly true in France and explicitly true in Germany, where monarchies of different forms, whether it was the empire of Napoleon III or the Kaiser, attempted to industrialize, to open up their economy, while keeping elements of the aristocracy. So their military complex, for whom that economy was meant to be now serving. And aristocrats who were caught up making money and were allowed to make money, and new aristocrats who were generated from the money. They deliberately muddled old systems and new systems to create an autocracy. And that becomes, in many ways, for me, the dominant model for how industrialization tends to happen. It will, yes, create a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie as new sets of rules have to come in. And an authoritarian government is needed to enforce those rules, for there is nothing natural about capitalism. On the contrary, free markets need to be imposed and then defended with endless interventionism. But, on the other hand, the group that does that is often one bit of the old order, or has representatives of the old order. And what has this to do with us? Isn't that what we're doing today? I mean, the far right, the one that quietly is taking power or threatened to take power, is an uneasy alliance, an idiotic alliance, I would probably argue, between two forces, one very old and one very new. The very new, of course, is the disruptive new technology, which is ripping through societies and demanding that the societies open and allows it to be ripped through and destroyed from inside. The other is, of course, petrochemical money, who are forming the role of the old aristocracy, the old guard, giving the money, finding the money, providing the energy, finding the kind of the experience of what it is to already be in government to AI. Now that's a very odd alliance. It's as odd as the alliance between the aristocracy and the bourgeoisie at the beginning of industrialization. It's odd because these groups are actually opposed. More than that, AI ought to destabilize the petrochemical world if it was allowed to rip through it. We must look to that conflict and exacerbate it.